So this is what it looks like on my birthday, August 17, where I live. And I call birthdays staying alive days. Oh, this is for sale. That's a nice house. I call birthdays staying alive days because, hell, I'm still alive. And hopefully I'll be alive after this bike ride. Of course I will. I've been eating these apples and they're really delicious. It looks like this on mio aniversario, my day of being thankful for having lived another year. And it's a good day to be alive. It looks like this, some purple haze. It's morning, it's going to be 33 degrees. Too hot, the sun for the beach, I think. This is what we call a very nice frame. Well, howdy there. It's my staying alive day, so I'm doing what I usually do when I have time, which is riding around in the morning before it gets too hot. And it's a beautiful morning. It wasn't foggy. It's going to be a really hot day today, maybe 33 degrees and blue sky. I probably won't go to the beach because of the heat. Out in the sun on the beach, it really cooks here. The sun is very strong in this country. I'm still editing and messing around with my piece. It's going to be a long one, like I said before, and I can't help it. I just want to get it all out and bring the curtain down. I was watching Amy Goodman's documentary, what's it called? Steal This Report or something like that. Democracy Now! Is an independent journalism platform, media platform out of the United States. I think the crew there, the group at Democracy Now! Are fairly heroic and decent journalists, professional, considerate. I more or less hold their editorial worldview. So if we can't solve problems globally, we can't find safety and peace between nations, we're not going to solve anything locally. Obviously, we have to work locally, that's should be a cliche at this point, a truism. But most of us aren't doing enough, which is one of the main points in my piece. What I want to convince my lovely American friends, who are all good people, is to do just a little bit more politically and socially and community-wise to fight the oligarchs, basically, because it's their power that we need to struggle against and that people have always had to struggle against. It never ends. If you look at the history of Amy Goodman's work, She's seen it all, and it has been pretty nasty. Now, of course, if you go to crime statistics websites, This World in whatever, in Data, or many, many other FBI, whatever, sites, you can find out criminal and violence statistics around the world, like Honduras and Brazil are worse than America, but America's worse than Portugal. China and Japan have legal and social constraints that put a damper on violence. No country's immune. Our history is horrifically violent. This book I'm reading now, Where We Are as Our Country, which is the history of the Jewish Bund. You look at all the conflicts between the various socialist and communist and workers' parties from the late 19th century all the way up to, post-World War II. It's so violent. I mean, these people murdered each other relentlessly. It also makes the point that, Europeans always scapegoated Jews. They never liked them. So Jews were always fighting, and that's why many Jewish people over those generations became socialists, because they wanted equality. They wanted to live anywhere and call it home and be allowed to practice their religion or their culture, their secular culture, whatever, and not be scapegoated and murdered in pogroms. Now, of course, Israel is a victim culture. The world's out to get Israel, and so that gives them the license to destroy all of their neighbors' countries. It's madness, but this is the way human beings are, in a sense. We're very easily swayed by fear and ideology that promotes scapegoating and enmity between cultures and so on. Anyway, Amy Goodman's seen it all. It's been pretty violent. Those days, you've got all these factions fighting each other, and it's pretty nasty. Compared to today, in Western affluent countries, it's really horrible. If you look at these crime statistics, the U.S., if you're in the suburbs or an affluent community or the countryside, your chances of encountering some kind of violent attack by a criminal are very low. I think it's 0.03, 0.3, 0.6, 100 or to 300 per 100,000 people. Many people, my friends, have gone through a lifetime without having a fight or being attacked. That doesn't mean you won't be. Every single day there are shootings in the United States. This weekend there were several mass shootings. So, it can happen. But the point is, what structurally, systemically, culturally, ideologically are the causes of the violence? What are the myths? What are the stories that tend to support violence as a way of solving problems and so on? And then we have to address those problems, those structural, systemic issues, and we have to do something about it if we want to create a better culture, better society, and so on. That takes work. So what my piece is basically saying at the end of the day is we want to feel good, we want to be happy, we want to enjoy our nice lives, but we're not doing enough. So you see these reports every day now, and recently, even on CNN, they talk about climate change as a cause, but they don't talk about the causes of climate change. So these, again, are systemic cultural issues, and they're complex. You don't just wake up one morning with 460, whatever it is, parts per million, whatever the thing is. of carbon in our atmosphere as a blanket heating up our planet. Uh, it just doesn't happen overnight. There are all kinds of things that lead to uh, the Enlightenment, the scientific revolution, the industrial revolution, use of fossil fuels, and so on. And there are many reasons why we ignore it. And I would say that the corporate powers and the oligarchs want us to ignore it because they have no incentive to want to stop it. It's never been about people. People always have to fight for whatever they can get. One of the things about these socialist revolutions that happened back in the day was that women were treated more equally. Even way back when, schools became co-ed, so boys and girls could hang out and learn together. And in doing so, they would learn about humanity across gender, right? Oh, boys and girls, they can get along. They can be friends, They can learn to understand each other, how their differences and their humanity and all of that kind of thing. And people, wanted that to happen because they want peace. They want freedom. They want to be able to choose. They want to have better choices. They want to be able to discern what those choices are and make good choices, and so on. So poor Amy Goodman, here she is in 2026 doing reports about Palestine and Lebanon and Syria and the America-Iran war and the Ukraine-Russia war and all these other things that just continue, right? The oligarchs, the tech bros, the terrestrial fantasists, the data centers, the energy and power issues that we have. And it never goes away. Is there still discrimination and racism in the world? Of course there is. And the Europeans hated the Jews, so they said, go off to Palestine, take it over, and live over there. Get out of our face. We don't want you here. But the oligarchs don't care. Anything that makes them money and extends their power, their reach, adds to their status and so on, is good. They really don't have those kinds of problems with race or people's religion or so on. The leaders that use the business people may have that, like Hitler, and he uses that in a populist sense to appeal to the emotions and the fear of his constituency. And that works pretty good with the plebs and proles. They can get riled up pretty easily. But intelligent oligarchs, they don't care about religion, really. They're too busy making money. And capital is global capital, globe cap. So wherever the money needs to go to increase a return on that capital is where it goes. It's all pretty cynical, pretty inhumane, pretty omnicidal if you think about it, but that's the way it is. So, yeah, Amy Goodman, Democracy Now!, Novara Media, whatever independent platform you want to talk about, Double Down News, or any other conservative one. They can report, they can tell you what's what. Maybe they can even discuss every once in a while the causes. But what are people going to do about it? I keep emphasizing that. We click like and subscribe and say we gave it the home office. Meanwhile, the world's burning, and people are starting to notice. The weather in the United States is not normal. There's a problem, and it's called global heating, climate change, and that comes from a socio-cultural, economic way of doing things. And if we don't tackle that, we're screwed. And I don't think people really want to, because the NFL is too much fun. There's another football season coming up. There's going to be another championship fight in the UFC. There's going to be another World Cup somewhere. It's going to be more movies and series. And a lot of my friends who are affluent and fortunate like me, they have their pharmaceuticals to lean on, alcohol, a line, recreational gummies, whatever the heck. All kinds of addictions. And, you know, they have what they're proud of, which is what they've accomplished in business, how they paid for their kids' education, how they're taking care of their mother. And these are all good things, and they're not bad people. But they're not incentivized at all to give up one moment of the good life to become vulnerable to the powers that be, to take the risk that they lose something by standing up and fighting back against the oligarchs. And many of my friends are very proud to have wealthy friends. It's like name dropping in Hollywood, you know. I met Brad Pitt at a party or something like that. It's like, I know this wealthy guy, I know that wealthy guy. Some of my friends are just super rich. And it's almost like a weird way of saying, isn't that terrible that we have this inequality, but isn't it cool that my friends are rich, kind of thing? I don't know. I don't know why they do that. I don't do that, but you know, maybe in some weird way it makes them feel kind of hooked into the powers that be, you know, and a little more wise because they have first-hand experience with the Koch brothers or something like that. I don't know. It's like many people I know at my age, they all have an uncle or a brother or a friend who was a special ops guy in Vietnam, a special operations group guy, or a Marine or something like that, paratrooper, chopper pilot. You know, in America, we all want to appeal to having known a gangster. And, you know, we dodged that bullet. He was a gangster, but I was smart enough not to get involved. I have my stories about Yakuza friends in Japan that I have, and I could tell those stories. I don't do it anymore, but when I was younger, I did, because they're pretty cool stories. For some reason, it fascinates us, and you look at the streaming shows, you know, House of the Dragon, or, you know, name it. There's so many really brain-dead, kind of AI-drafted scripts for movies that are just formulaic and extremely boring, and involve tons of shootouts and lots of stabbings and people getting kidnapped and tortured, and funny little people who, you know, that somehow they have a sense of humor while they're killing people, or they have a family story. Two assassins on the run from the bad guys in the dark CIA with their son, and they love their son so much, and they just have to protect their family. And for some reason, there's tons and tons of these movies. I watch movies on Mubi.com and other streaming services, mostly European or Korean or Chinese or any African, any country but the United States. They tend to be more innovative, more creative, and the stories are better. They breathe, and they have space within which I can fill in the gaps of the story and make it my own. And I love that. You know, it's so nice. Because each time I watch a film like that, it's different, because I'm different. As time goes on, I've learned more, I've matured or grown in some way or whatever. And they're great. Jules and Jim, you know, Seven Samurai. There's just so many of these great old films and international movies. And I don't understand why people want to watch another FBI procedural TV drama or hospital show or, CSI franchise. I don't get it. They're formulaic, but they fulfill a purpose in the culture. They make us feel, I guess, special in some way, and they're an outlet for our emotions. They're brain dead. It's just like I ask people to read a book or something. I don't think many people are going to read my piece all the way through because it'll take time. It's like reading a book. It's a long read. And I'm asking you to listen to podcasts and watch videos and think about buying a book. So I'm challenging my readership in that way. And I guess people are going to think that's a pretentious, stupid thing to do because attention spans, TikTok, whatever. But I think it's important, and I really, really hope that a few people will, and they'll share it with people who aren't in the choir. Because I think developing and challenging our own worldview is extremely important. And as a kind of a curator, essayist, I'm asking people to grow, and some of the bits and pieces when I go into talking about some studies or books I've read are written in a kind of bland way. I'm not going to do the indica thing. I used to write in a much more polemical style. I think that just pisses people off, and they get tired of it, and people don't really like poetry anymore. So at sometimes I veer off into it, and other times I just try to keep it simple because I want to inspire people to look into this information and to look into these other writers and creators and artists and so on. The journalists today, of all the platforms, people like Chris Hedges and so on, they'll never run out of things to talk about. He's given impassioned speeches for decades and written tons of articles. And has it had any effect whatsoever on the direction of the world? No. Unfortunately, I kind of think that at this scale, it's almost impossible to do anything because we don't have the revolutionary spirit that people once had. And also, if we did, violence will erupt. And nobody likes violence, actually. We pretend like it's necessary and we have to carry a blade and a gun. And we need to know the vulnerable points where you can beat a 300-pound attacker, even though we're probably never going to get attacked. I've been around the world and I've never been beaten up, or attacked. And yeah, I've been in some fairly dangerous places. And I think situational awareness goes a long way to keeping me safe. Just deciding I'm not going to be drunk here and I'm going to be aware there and I'm going to watch my back and maybe not go to this particular place, or if I do, go with the right kind of people who can protect me and so on and so forth. But, they do good work for decades, and I don't think we're going to do anything about our situation. So, like I say all the time, we're going to react to circumstances, obviously. Oh, the flood hit, the fire hit. Now I'm in a different set of circumstances. I got to do what I got to do. There are consequences to things. Karma is just cause and effect. It's not a magical thing. Who forgives you? At the end of the day, you're victim or yourself. And, everybody loves to, if they're fortunate enough to be a winner in the UFC, they like to thank their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because they couldn't have done it without him. But we all know they couldn't have done it without a whole lot of people and processes and practices that allowed them to find the discipline, the commitment, and the maturity to become a champion in a sport. But anyway, it's nice to think that some mysterious force out there cares about us personally. But it's hard. It's hard to learn to love yourself, and sometimes we need help. And if help is Jesus Christ, then why not? If help is mindfulness, meditation, or group therapy, or friends, why not? We want to be healthy. We want to be happy people. Whatever gets you there is okay. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody. So I talk about religion and things like that. Some of my atheist friends will be pissed off about that because religion is a disease, but I don't believe that. I love science. I love, critical thinking. I like intellectual pursuits and whatnot. I like the math, even though I can't do the math. I understand. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think all of that has its place. I don't think we're going to create a religion that's not a religion like John Vervaeke talks about. I don't think a new religion's going to happen because I think that the old ones have stuck around for so long. It's like Taleb says, they've stuck around for a reason. Old literature is still here for lots of reasons. Shakespeare is good because of Shakespeare, right? That having been said, I think a lot of people want to do something. They want to feel involved. They want to feel like they have the capacity to help do more. And so those people are going to do more. And other people are going to say, well, we're in a predicament. It doesn't have a solution. So, do what you got to do to have a nice life and leave it at that. I'm certainly not sailing a boat to Gaza anytime soon. Woe is me, I'm not a revolutionary. I'm not prone to violence. The other thing about violence is you have to be trained to have the will and the mindset to perpetrate it, to do it. A lot of us just don't like the idea of hurting somebody, even somebody who's attacking us. We just shut down mentally. Our nervous system just collapses when under attack. And there's all kinds of ways to be violently attacked that don't involve kinetic strikes or impact. A lot of us just don't want to hurt anybody. We're pacifists, and I think that's good. I wish we were all like that. But it's very easy to train people to hurt people, and that's why we have these problems around the world. And it's very easy for you to train to hurt somebody. If you take a self-defense course and do it seriously, a good one, you will be more prepared mentally and physically to perpetrate, to commit violence against somebody who's doing you wrong. I wish you didn't have to do it, but, blah, blah, blah. Some people go and they learn how to use a blade or a gun or whatever, a pistol or a club, baseball bat, shillelagh, combat shillelagh, combat canes. I'm a 79-year-old with a cane. I'm going to take out the bad guys. Well, wouldn't it be better if we just didn't have the bad guys? I know I'm naive. Of course, we're always going to have bad guys. But like I say, I've been around the world and I haven't been banged up. So it's just one anecdote, but I think a lot of people are like me. So do what you can. And I feel my heart goes out to Amy Goodman. She's just doing her job, and she's a good journalist. And it just breaks my heart that as long as she lives, she's going to have all of this madness to talk about. All right, take good care. I'll talk to you later. Boolean T out. There's a nice yurt. Yeah, so staying alive is pretty nice. I wish everyone had the opportunity to stay alive in a peaceful, beautiful place. Wouldn't it be nice? I think most places are beautiful. They just need to be made peaceful. This is pretty dramatic. I'm going to go down this little dirt road and see. Of course, I got to be careful. I can't find my action cam. I put it somewhere. So this dirt road, have to be careful holding the camera and going down these dirt roads. Yeah, I think this is going to be fairly steep, and so I'll turn the camera back on when I get down. It's a nice dirt road though. Yeah, this dirt road really drops at a steep, it's like a cliff there. But over here you can see that other dirt road going up into the trees, and then a paved road down there. I'm curious about that dirt road and where it comes out. So that's my direction. This is a nice frame. Very nice frame. Big tip for those of you mountain bikers who don't mountain bike much. When you go down these kind of hills that are bumpy and uneven, just if you have an automatic seat like I do where I can adjust the height, just put it down on the lowest level and it's not hard at all to go down these hills. If you know, you're not racing, and you don't feel as vulnerable, and if you do slip or something, you can put your feet down very easily. You see the grapevines on this hill? It's lovely. Look at those big white grapes. My God, man, they're plump. I want to eat some. They're beautiful. So that's that dirt road. It just looks awesome, and it goes up to a ridge there up above. I'm sure I've been on that ridge many times. but the road itself looks really fun. I think on the camera you can't appreciate how steep that is, but the worst part of it is it's gravelly, uneven, and sandy. So if you try to brake going down to moderate your speed, you just slide. And then you start sliding, kind of sliding off to the right because it's uneven and it's hard to keep your balance. And the problem is at the bottom of this hill, there's a T junction with a paved road. So by the time you get to the bottom, you can't slow down enough to guarantee you're not going to fly out into the road and get hit by a car. So to be safe, after I slipped just here, I slipped off into this rut. And of course I didn't fall down because my seat was down. I decided I'm going to walk the rest of the way to the paved road and then mount my saddle again. So, yep, you can see the steepness a little bit better here, but also the sand. And then you can see how it T-bones on this paved road. And when I came down, 3 cars passed by. There's a car coming. And the speed limit on these rural roads is 90 kilometers per hour, which is pretty fast. So even though that car was not going 90, you hit this thing, you can't brake, you slide there, and boom, you're in the middle of a paved road street with cars. So call me a chicken. Call me a chicken. I'm just trying to keep safe. Look at this nice garden down here. I like the orange tree in front of that house. And a lime tree. My God, a lime tree.